Let me tell you a story.
Prologue. The fall of King Aldric. The great halls of Eldoria echoed with music, laughter, and the clinking of goblets. King Aldric sat upon his throne, a figure of wisdom and strength, his dark hair streaked with silver, his emerald eyes watching his guests with a patient, knowing gaze. Beside him sat Queen Morgana, radiant and elegant in her crimson gown, her hand resting delicately on the arm of her chair. Below them, the nobles and lords of the kingdom feasted, danced, and whispered secrets in the flickering candlelight. Tonight was meant to be a celebration. Prince Eryndor's coming of age, a ceremony that would solidify his role as heir to the throne, had drawn allies and dignitaries from across the realm. The young prince, barely 18, stood near the balcony, surrounded by friends and knights who toasted to his future. His golden hair glimmered like a halo in the torchlight, and his laughter was warm and unguarded. Yet beneath the surface, shadows stirred. From behind a tall pillar, Lady Selene watched the prince, her lips pressed into a thin line, her sharp gray eyes flickering to Morgana on the throne. Selene had been a loyal advisor to Aldric for years, but lately she had grown wary. She had noticed the Queen's private meetings with Lord Kaelin and General Varric, her cold glances when Aldric praised his son, her restless pacing late at night. In the past few weeks, troubling rumors had reached Selene's ears. Whispers that Morgana feared the prince's influence, that she sought to seize power for herself. Selene wanted to believe these were lies, but the tension in the air tonight made her skin crawl. Aldric rose from his throne, lifting his goblet. The music softened, and the crowd turned toward their king. "Tonight," Aldric declared, his voice steady and rich, "we celebrate not just a prince's coming of age, but the future of Eldoria. My son, Eryndor, is the hope of our kingdom. Brave, just, and wise beyond his years. Let us raise our glasses to the future." The hall roared with cheers. Eryndor, blushing, stepped forward, bowing to his father. Their eyes met across the hall, a shared moment of pride. Morgana's smile, faint and cold, did not reach her eyes. As the festivities continued, Selene moved quietly through the hall, alert. She spotted Kaelin and Varric slip away through a side door. Frowning, she followed. The corridor beyond was dim, lit only by a few torches. Selene kept her distance, her boots silent on the stone floor. She heard the soft murmur of voices. "Tonight," Kaelin whispered, "we end this. The prince dies, and the king's grip weakens. Morgana will take the throne, and we—" "Shh!" Varric hissed. "Do you want to get us caught?" Selene's heart pounded. She stepped back, too late. A loose stone shifted under her foot. Varric's head whipped around. "Who's there?" Selene bolted, sprinting back toward the hall. She had to warn Aldric. Inside the great hall, Aldric sat beside Morgana, his hand reaching briefly to clasp hers. She tensed under his touch. "You seem distant," Aldric murmured. "It is a long night," Morgana replied, her voice smooth as silk. "Too many guests. Too much noise." Aldric frowned, sensing something beneath her words. Suddenly, Selene burst through the doors, breathless. "Your Majesty!" The Queen, Lord Kalen. They plan to. A sharp, sudden pain flared in her chest. She looked down in shock to see the tip of a blade emerging through her ribs. Behind her stood Varric, twisting the dagger deeper. The hall erupted into chaos. Guards drew swords, guests screamed, and the scent of blood filled the air. Aldric leapt to his feet, his eyes wide with horror. Selene! Varric yanked the blade free, and Selene crumpled. Aldric reached for his sword. But Kalen was already moving, knocking aside guards as he lunged for the prince. "Father!" Eryndor shouted, but before Aldric could reach him, Kalen's blade pierced the boy's chest. Time seemed to slow. Eryndor gasped, his blue eyes wide with shock and pain. Blood blossomed across his tunic as he stumbled, collapsing into his father's arms. "No," Aldric whispered, cradling his son. "Stay with me, please. Stay with me." But Eryndor's body stilled, his breath fading. Morgana rose from the throne, her face serene, almost coldly satisfied. "It is done." Aldric looked up, his eyes burning with grief and fury. "Why?" Morgana stepped forward. "You were a great king, Aldric, but you were weak, too blinded by love for your son. Eldoria needs strength, not sentiment. And now it will have it." Aldric's scream of anguish echoed through the shattered hall. Days passed. The kingdom fell into mourning. But Aldric did not emerge from his chambers. He sat alone, cradling his son's lifeless body, whispering broken prayers to gods who no longer answered. On the third night, something changed. A shadow crept into the king's chamber, whispering promises of power, of vengeance, of resurrection. Aldric, hollow-eyed and broken, listened. "They took your son," the voice murmured. "They betrayed you. But you can bring him back. All you must do is let me in." Desperate, Aldric opened his soul to the darkness. Pain flooded his body, burning through his veins, twisting his flesh. His screams filled the palace, shaking the walls. His guards burst in, only to recoil in horror. Where the king had sat, now rose a creature of nightmare, horns curling from his brow, eyes blazing with hellfire, black wings unfurling from his back. The demon lord had been born. Morgana and her allies fled, but it was too late. Aldric, consumed by dark magic, swept across Eldoria in a storm of wrath. Cities burned, fields withered, the skies darkened. His armies of the dead rose from the grave, and his loyal knights twisted into monstrous forms, bound by his will. Yet one goal consumed him above all else: to bring back his son. Deep in the catacombs beneath the ruined palace, Aldric worked forbidden rituals, pouring his own soul into the attempt to restore Eryndor. Night after night, he called upon dark gods, bartered with demons, and sacrificed his own humanity. But the boy did not rise, and so Aldric turned his fury outward, vowing to tear down the world that had betrayed him, to remake it in his own image. Far away, in a hidden valley untouched by war, a faint pulse of light stirred within a crystal tomb. The body of Eryndor, untouched by decay, lay still and silent, but the magic woven into the tomb flickered, awakening. The world had not seen the last of the prince, and the Demon King's story was only beginning.